Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned. Listen to their screams. Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast that feels like you're chatting with friends. I am one of your friends, Dave. We're joined, as always, by our other friend, Ike. Ike, how are you?
I am doing pretty good today. I'm doing pretty good. I'm very well hydrated today, in case anybody was curious.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a good thing.
Yes,
I mean, dehydration's a bitch, but yeah, I'm doing good as well. Today, we are going to be discussing and reviewing Saw X, which we both went and saw, which is out in theaters now. And momentarily, we will also have Monica and Kayla, the wives, on for a wives rebuttal, in which we discuss the scariest type of horror movies, particularly whether it is slashers or not. So stay tuned for that. But before we get to all that, Ike, what'd you do this week? Did you watch anything fun?
Well, honestly, I didn't get to watch a whole lot. I'll be real. Me and Kayla, actually, no, I have watched some stuff. Okay, me and Kayla, we have this little thing we do every year. We have like a list of movies we try and watch during the month of October. Mm-hmm. So, and I realized, well, they're all like Halloween movies, so I have watched some stuff. So, we rewatched it, Chapter 1 and 2, the new one. We watched the Blair Witch movie. We also watched Scooby-Doo, the live action movie, which, if anybody's not seen that movie, fantastic. Literally one of the best live action movies of all time. Matthew Lillard's in it, and I fucking love that movie. And it's kind of spooky, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I watched.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I think a lot of people do that, the watch list thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, lots of accounts and channels and different things like that put, watch lists out there, particularly for, content they have on their streaming service and things. So it's very easy to come up with things. I have things that I like to rewatch too. It's kind of, skip around. I used to, rewatch all the major franchises all the way through and stuff, but now it's more of a pick and choose my favorite stuff.
Right.
But this week I didn't watch a whole lot, but I did watch the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie. Because
I still need to watch that.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it here in a little bit. It's now on Peacock, and it's okay. It's not, it's not. I don't know. Some people complained about it. I don't know what they expected out of this, though, right? Because I knew that going in that it was just going to be a goofy, scary slashery type movie. I mean, it's about Winnie the Pooh, and so I didn't expect it to be, Oscar worthy type shit, but it was kind of fun, and I'm kind of hip on it. I'm kind of glad they're doing another, because I would like to watch it. So again, I advise everybody to watch it, but we'll talk about it a little more coming up because again, it just came out to streaming, and we'll discuss that when we get to the news section.
Yes, indeed.
But before we do that, it's time to have a drink, take a breath, and brace ourselves, because once again, we have invited Monica and Kayla onto the show for another Wives Rebuttal, so let's kick to that. Wives Rebuttal. All right, and here we are. We're back with a Wives Rebuttal, and we are being joined, as we always are for these segments, by Monica. Hello.
Hello.
And Kayla. Hello, Kayla.
Hey.
And on today's Wives Rebuttal, we are going to discuss the scariest type of horror movies, particularly whether they are slashers or not. So before we dive into this, Ike, you tend to feel that slasher are the scariest type of horror movies, correct? Yes or no?
That is correct.
Okay. And the ladies differ in that opinion. So, Kayla, tell us, why do you feel that slashers are not the scariest type of horror movies, or what do you feel are the scariest type of horror movies?
So, I want to start off by saying that I don't hate slashers. I think, they can be done well and that they're fun. but they are my least favorite subgenre, if you will call it that, of horror. I don't know. To me, like, it doesn't, like, scare me. Like, if anything, I feel like slasher movies are more gory and violent, and I kind of feel like it itches, like, a morbid curiosity in my brain that I do enjoy, but I don't think it's scary, per se. It just, I don't know, it doesn't spook me. But I will say, what I think is the scariest subgenre of horror is, like, paranormal, demon, possession, ghosts. That really freaks me out. But I think it freaks me out because, I mean, everyone to each their own, but I personally do believe in, like, ghosts and demons and stuff. So I guess to me, that subgenre is more of, like, the fear of the unknown. Like, I guess nobody really knows if it exists or not. And to me, that's what's scary about it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you live with Ike. So, I mean, you would think a demon-like possession behavior would just be a daily thing for you.
Yeah, true. Fair.
All right. So, Monica, you hold very similar opinions on the matter. Why do you feel that I know you do enjoy slashers, but why do you feel that slashers are not particularly scary, and what do you find are the scariest type of horror movies?
Well, I agree with Kayla. I mean, there is this little, like, I don't want to call it a sickness or an illness or a weirdness, but, you know, when you're watching a slasher movie, you know, I can see where it can appeal to someone, you know, because, you know, there is an entire history of movies from Night of the Living Dead to Dawn of the Dead and all of the progression of how much gorier they got. And, you know, so there is that popularity. But for me, what is scary is what could be real. You know, like Kayla said, I too believe in ghosts. I believe in demons. If anyone wants references, I'll give you my ex-husband's name. I mean, demons are real. No, I'm just kidding. He's not that bad. But regardless, that's what I find scary. What scares me is what could possibly be real. And let's face it, your average slasher movie, you know, take Terrifier. Most of those kills, the amount of blood that comes out is about 3 times the volume of what a human being actually has in them. There's no realism. You actually cannot cut a human being from hang them upside down and cut them from the crotch down and that person scream the entire time because they're going to die from shock or at least pass out from it. I don't know, about 5 seconds into that. So for me, there's no realism.
So,
and
hang on, let me interrupt
yeah.
you here. So you're keen on this word realism.
Yes.
And you mean to tell me that you're stating that paranormal type movies you're finding are more realistic than the potential of slashers?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I'm a huge true crime buff. I mean, how many times have you woke up in the middle of the night and what comforts me and puts me to sleep is like serial killer documentaries. I know that there is depravity in murder, but there is no way that I don't care if it was, you know, John Gacy. I don't care who that killer is, that you're going to hang a person upside down, cut them from crotch to their head, and that they're going to scream the entire time. There's not going to be that much blood because easily in most of your slasher kills, like I said, you're looking at sometimes 3-4 times the volume of blood the human body actually has. So there is no realism in it.
Perhaps. I mean, perhaps. I understand that concept that, yes, sometimes it is exaggerated for, you know, theatrical effect.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying that a genre of film based on faith and belief is more realistic?
Absolutely. And I'm saying that as, you know, someone who is agnostic, borderline atheist. just because I don't believe in religion, you know what? I've never been proven or disproven that there's not a higher power. And I don't know that demons are, you know, what they might be, but I have looked into the eyes, personally looked into the eyes of a mass murderer, and I'm telling you that evil is real.
Well, correct. And I completely believe that. I completely agree with that. Like Kayla, I believe in ghosts. I believe in some of these things. But when you say you looked into the eyes of evil, isn't that evil what is being portrayed in slasher movies?
No.
I don't know about that.
Kayla, when you watch a slasher movie and you're sitting there, do you really look at that person and you're like, wow, that's evil? Or are you looking at it and think, oh, that's gross?
Yeah, definitely the second one. But I will say, I kind of get the whole looking at a person evil, especially with like horror movies or like documentaries about serial killers. Like specifically when you said that, I think of the one with the Ted Bundy one on Netflix.
Oh,
yeah.
Extremely Wicked, something in a vial with Zac Efron.
I don't know, but to me though, when I look at like serial killers, I think more of like a mental issue more than like evil per se. Like I think about like what's wrong with their brain that's making them be this way, not necessarily like that they're evil.
Okay, let's put this in like real life, because I am right there with Kayla on this, because Dave, you and I both know someone who walked into his parents' bedroom and took a bat to their heads until there was skull and gray matter all over the ceiling, and then got in the car and went to see his girlfriend, all because his parents wouldn't let him use the car. Now, do you really tell me that you knew him, that when you, in hindsight, look back, that there was not something disturbing about him? Because I absolutely thought there was.
Correct. But what I'm saying is, stating all that to me is more in line with a slasher film than it is with anything paranormal.
No.
That sounds like something out of a slasher film. Hold on. Before you dive back in, let Ike, go ahead now. We need Ike to counter a little bit.
Is Ike texting you? Is Ike texting you?
No.
Let me talk.
No. But Ike, let's don't go for 40 minutes here.
Yeah.
But give us some counter. Here's the thing. From my stance, it's a matter of opinion, right? What you find scary. I understand that. But everything you guys are saying to me, when you speak of realism, believability, true crime, blah, 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 all those things seem more closer. I mean, they seem closer. I'm not saying directly in line. They seem closer to slasher than paranormal. I do not see how you can state paranormal is more realistic when it's completely all unproven.
But
No
we
matter
didn't
your
say.
beliefs.
Hold on, before I toss this, Isaac, we didn't say just paranormal. We talked about paranormal. We talked about evil. We talked about demons. We talked about ghosts. All
Correct.
of that. And for me, I think maybe that's another thing. How do you define a slasher movie? For me, I'm going to straight up tell you what happened in that bedroom with the person I'm talking about was not a slasher movie.
Well, you're correct.
I've
right,
seen
I
the
agree.
crime scene photos. Trust me, it was not a slasher movie.
I agree. But much true crime could be classified as a slasher movie, yes.
No.
Absolutely. Why not? If you use a bladed object, it still is, yes. I mean,
So
I feel.
You
But
give
also-
me one. I challenge.
I can't do that because I don't sit around and masturbate around about true crime
I don't
and
masturbate.
everything else. I'm not saying you do, but I can't rattle off true crime killers and the number of people they murder. That's not the point. I'm not saying that. But here's what I'm saying. I'm saying I point blank asked you if you found paranormal more believable than slasher, and you said yes. That confounds me because the paranormal is purely faith and beliefs. It is unproven.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Having been raised around Catholicism, I'm telling you right now that there are videos of exorcisms. We have videos of ghosts. There is all of that is more
And I get that.
proven
And
than
there
a
are
slasher being real.
Seriously, there are people who go out and kill multiple people all the time and kill them in very gruesome ways. Ike, come on.
Yeah.
Give us your insight here.
Yeah, so because, I mean, there's a lot to respond here. So
there always is.
Is he taking notes?
Okay, mentally, kind of. So, okay. So to kind of, so I guess I have three things to say. The first thing to say is to kind of like jump back to like the whole original part of this, which is why do I think slashers are like scary? And it kind of dives in a little bit to kind of what you guys are talking about with realism. To me, there's nothing more realistic and scary than like a serial killer, a slasher, because all these slasher movies, you know, slasher is a very broad genre. It used to be more narrow, you know, back in your guys' day, no offense.
I am coming down there and kicking your ass right now. Kayla, kicking.
but for real though, back, you know, 10, 20 years ago.
If you say back in the day one more time, Kayla's going to kick you.
But 10, 20 years ago, slashers.
20 years ago?
Yeah, like early 2000s, like late 90s, slasher was a little bit more of a narrower genre. It was mostly just killers. But I feel like in more recent times, there are movies I feel like that you would include in the slasher genre that you wouldn't normally include in the genre. You know what I mean?
Tell me what you think a slasher movie is.
A slasher movie is simply where there is a singular or sometimes multiple killers. They are either killing in terms of a spree or they're specifically targeting people. But essentially it's just when a normal person or sometimes a normal person who might be slightly aided in some other way is killing people. You know what I mean? Really, that's all a slasher is. That's the bare bones of a slasher, is somebody killing other people for some reason or way. But for me, a slasher is scarier than anything else because it can happen. You know what I mean? We have serial killers, and I agree with Dave where a lot of these like serial killers could fall in line with like a slasher. Like, for instance, what is it? Richard Ramirez, right? The Night Stalker. In my opinion, Richard Ramirez is a pretty pure slasher if you think about it. I mean, he broke into people's homes at night and killed them. You know what I mean? And he did horrible things to people. And like that to me is the embodiment of like what a slasher movie is. It's about somebody coming in, making and basically destroying your life. And that's terrifying to me because it does happen. It continues to happen. I mean, there are like 20 like active serial killers in the United States or something like that, probably more. So yeah, that's the kind of like the original point that we were talking about why it's scary to me. But to kind of reiterate some of the things that you're saying, I mean, I agree to an extent that like paranormal is real. I do believe that there is such a thing as evil, ghosts, you know, demons, all that good jazz. But at the same token, looking back, if you're going to try and pull like the whole like Catholicism thing and try and talk about that, you look back at some of the Vatican records, and there are even some very prominent people who've come out of Catholicism who've said that some of these exorcisms were simply done on mentally ill people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But you can tell the difference.
Sometimes, absolutely, but sometimes you can't, and that's the horrifying thing about it, is that especially with modern medicine, there is a reason you don't hear about exorcisms anymore in the 21st century, because simply speaking, if someone's doing an exorcism, it's most likely on somebody who's mentally ill, and it almost always is either covered up by the Vatican or it just doesn't happen. So that's why you don't hear about them in 2023, because we realize now that probably most of the people who were being exorcised in the 70s, 80s, and earlier and whatnot were probably just people who had like schizophrenia or some form of mental illness or multiple personality disorder, things like that, who had no idea what was going on and were being tortured. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that in of itself is also scary, but I guess that's like a whole nother realm of scary. Here's my thing. I love demonic movies. I love possession movies, ghost movies. Conjuring is one of my favorite movies of all time. Conjuring 2 is a masterpiece. Patrick Wilson is a fantastic actor. Absolutely. But at the same time, like, I know that like that's not how demonic possession is. You know what I mean? That's not real. Demonic possession is generally just oppression. It is somebody who is under the influence of a demonic spirit. Very rarely, and correct me if I'm wrong, even according to Vatican records, there are very few true possessions recorded over the last 150 years.
Where they even say that in the movies.
Yeah.
Where they go and test to see oh, it was just the pipes making this noise.
Right.
They're even hesitant.
So it's I do get where you're coming from. The demon stuff is horrifying, but I think that a lot of it is, a lot of it's inflated for movies, and that's fine. It's always how it's been. It's just when you look at the reality of these two things, you look at the reality of each one, right? We're talking about paranormal and slasher. You look at the reality of slasher, you look at serial killers, you look at BTK, Ted Bundy, you look at Richard Ramirez, John Wayne Gacy, and then on the other side you see, okay, well, most of these are probably just mentally ill people, and we haven't really had a real possession in 150 years. It's just people who are under the oppression or impression of potential evil spirits. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm coming from, is that I see where you're coming from. It's just different to me.
Hold on, I want to argue a point so I get the whole realistic thing. For me personally, I think that slashers aren't scary just the fact because they are realistic. Like you said, we have all these serial killers. This has happened. I don't want to say that I'm numb to it.
You're desensitized.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
versus
can see that.
Paranormal. And I also feel if you've had experiences yourself, it makes the paranormal genre even scarier.
Yes.
But with paranormal, it's the unknown. I mean, like we've said multiple times, you can't really confirm or deny it. There's no hard proof that this exists. And to me, that's what's scary, is nobody really knows if this is real or not, at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that's what it all boils. It's all a matter of opinion. And everybody has their own experiences, their own perception of things. And we've talked here, it boils down, right? What do you find scary? Do you find the potential for it to happen a realistic thing? Is that scary to you? Is the unknown scarier to you? Right? I mean, whether it's some people have fears of the paranormal. Some people have fears of alien abductions. Some people have, whatever, fears of spiders. Some people have, I don't know, fears of boogers. Whatever your fear is, that plays into what you find scariest. That's what the filter that everybody has.
And one thing I do have to say, and I don't like to use such a strong phrase, but serial killers are not slashers. If you were to dig in from a psychological standpoint, you would be shocked at how many serial killers that the fundamental root is the occult, is Satanism, is modern day religion, Christianity, Catholicism, whatever. So to say, that's going to put that more in a paranormal. Look at Son of Sam. Dude thought there was a dog telling him what to do. And most of these people, when examined down the road, the mental illness really wasn't a factor. It was these other factors, these things that I don't understand, because I don't think I've been possessed in something, that there's something deep, dark, and evil in me. But for me, we will never ever truly know for most of the serial killers on record and not on record, for that matter, because you are right. At any given time, there's anywhere from 15 to 30 active serial killers in our country. But think about that. We don't know why. Is that not more scary to realize that, I always said that if tomorrow Dave left me, I'd never date again, because people be crazy. And it's hard to pick out the crazy ones now, because they always look normal. BTK looked normal. He would have never been caught if he hadn't got cocky. So,
but again,
and I don't think that falls under slasher, because don't you feel like with a slasher movie, Isaac, that you have to have the gore?
Not necessarily.
I do not.
They're like Psycho is the original slasher, and Psycho literally has A, no color, but B, it's gotten little to no gore, but it's still a slasher movie. It's the grandfather of all slasher movies. You know,
But-
I mean, go ahead.
Well, I don't.
For the time, though, it was gory. You have to put it into that perspective. That
But-
movie didn't get played in half of the theaters in America initially because it was so controversial for the gore.
I
But
do not believe gore is a factor in a
Yeah.
blanket labeling of slasher.
Really?
Absolutely, slasher.
I need Kayla's input on this. Kayla, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Monica. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think of like a slasher movie that does not have gore.
Right.
And this could very well just
So-
be me not seeing any, but I cannot think of one.
Me
So you
either.
would not define 1978's Halloween as a slasher movie,
Oh, absolutely would. But again,
but then
So-
it has very little gore. There's hardly
So
any gore
hold
to it.
on. Hold on, though.
Dave, let me jump in real quick here because I'm about to turn this around on Monica. So you're saying that for the time, 1978 was a gory movie, which is I guarantee was about what you were about to say. So then,
No.
What were you gonna
That's
say?
not what I was about to say. But go ahead, finish.
what I was going to say is, conversely, modern horror movies that are significantly gorier than those movies aren't really that gory compared to the time in which that they are being released. There's no significant pushback or impact of these movies like they were in the past. So by your logic, it doesn't really matter because the era and in the culture that we're in currently is more accepting of it. Because it seems like you're defining whether or not a movie is a slasher movie by sort of the cultural reception of the gore and violence.
No, I'm not going to say the cultural reception, but if you were to take all of the movies, what was Psycho 67, 68?
Something like that.
Yeah. If you were to take the horror movies that were released in the same year, Psycho is going to be one of the gorier movies. And, now, if I take that back to Halloween, Dave, I don't think Halloween is a slasher movie. Halloween there is a difference between slashing and stabbing. Almost every single kill, every single kill in Halloween, other than when he killed his sister, was a very subtle stab.
That's not what defines a slasher though. It is not purely how the knife is. That's not. It does not get that finite.
While we were talking, I looked up slasher, and the top 15 results for the definition of a slasher movie is things like high body count. Most of them says must have slashing. I mean, there is a difference between stabbing someone and slashing someone.
Okay, so clarify.
Well,
Do you think
because-
Psycho's a slasher movie though?
I truly don't. No, I truly
So-
don't. You don't have a high body count. You're not looking at a frenzied attack. Do you think sitting here right now, what was the Conjuring movie we just saw? Somebody help me out here.
The Nun?
Nun
The
2.
Nun 2.
Okay. So, no, the one before that had Patrick Wilson. It was earlier this year.
Insidious Red Door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't Conjuring. Insidious. Okay. Insidious, there was death in it, right?
Yeah.
People died. Okay, do you consider that a slasher movie?
No, because a slasher has to have a
Oh,
killer
come
who is pursuant. No, that
You're mixing genres here because there's
Yes.
a widely accepted understanding. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to say this at all in the way it's going to come across, but like I feel like it's confirmation bias. You can find pretty much any resource on
Confirmation bias.
because you can find any resource that will agree with your opinion. Realistically,
And
I just
what did
found
I
about
say?
10.
I said, listen to me though. Okay. I didn't go out looking for my definition. I simply Googled definition of slasher, and the first 15 all were the same thing. Okay, I
So
didn't
when
have
I
to
Google
go look.
slasher, it's different though, because for me,
Yes.
I just said slasher definition, and it says a genre of horror most popular from the late 50s to early 90s, defined by its use of a generally masked killer harassing and murdering groups of people. Slasher villains are human killers whose actions are objectively evil because they're meant to be bound by human morality. The slasher is the one that slashes, a person who mutilates or kills with an edged blade. You know what I mean? It's
Okay,
it's
so-
not ubiquitous across the board for everyone.
right.
I mean,
Okay, but my question is, would you consider the Insidious movie to be a slasher movie?
well, no, because
No.
it
I mean-
specifically has the influence of a paranormal entity.
Right,
There's
so
an
hold
entire universe built around
Oh,
it
hold
that
on.
changes the definition.
Hold on. So there was some graphic death in it. Halloween in 1978 fit into a genre of the babysitter killer. There are a gazillion movies from that time period about
Wait
the
for it.
babysitter.
Wait for it. The babysitter killer genre is a, wait for it, subgenre
Slasher.
of, wait for it, slasher.
It is not.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
Okay. Let's
Here-
reel this in. Hold on.
Hold on a second. Isaac, how many years have you been watching horror movie? Because I know the answer to
No.
this.
Don't. No.
Hold on.
You
Hold
can't
on.
quote years and think you're more of an expert.
No.
That doesn't work.
Hey,
Because
would
I've
you
probably
let me
seen.
finish talking? Because I can come in there too and kick you.
Well, if you come in here, that means you're off the headset, so that's a win-win situation.
Listen,
We are getting off track, and this is what I
Hold
said.
on.
I did not want to do. Anybody who tries to tell me Insidious Red Door is a slasher movie is off the track.
It was a slasher movie.
You also said Halloween 1978 is not. You're off the tracks. You're not even at the core of what the discussion is.
Is Terrifier 2 a slasher movie? Is Terrifier a slasher movie?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is Halloween 1978 a slasher movie?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to need you to show me your work on how those two movies are in the same genre, same subgenre.
Because they have a killer pursuing people and killing them.
Almost every horror movie has that. Whether it is a paranormal killer,
No.
whether it is
No.
a
It's a
ghost,
ghost, though.
whether it is someone possessed, everyone
No.
has a killer pursuing them to kill them. If
But
not,
the difference.
it's a rom-com.
It's
The
not a.
difference.
It's a person though,
Yes. The difference is that it's a person, like usually a masked person.
not a
Or
demon,
Right.
not a
demon
possession,
ghost.
not a ghost.
But to be fair, though, with Terrifier, is it a human?
Exactly.
We don't know.
Well, we don't know that yet. But
Oh,
as
I
we
don't
stand
know
now,
that
as of now, that's what we are to believe. But yes, we don't know where it's going with the third
Is-
one.
But
Is it a slasher movie?
no,
Original or new?
no.
Okay. You don't think it's a slasher movie?
no,
No.
because he kills
It's a
people in
ghost
paranormal
or a
ways.
figure. That's not
Well,
a. That's
technically, it is an alien movie. It
Well,
is
yes.
an alien from outer space, so it's not even paranormal. It's an alien movie, technically.
Honestly, I think we're kind of pushing both genres to the side when I think
Yeah.
movies can be a slasher and a paranormal
Right.
movie.
There
That
are
is
distinct
true.
Right.
paranormal slashes.
Right.
Yeah.
But basically what you guys want to do is you want to say, okay, if they have an edged blade and
no.
they're not
You're-
a ghost,
You're the
You're
one.
in-
slasher
introducing that.
movie.
You're the one that's bringing up the edge blade, not us.
I didn't say edged blade at no point.
Yes, you did.
You are the one who said
I wouldn't
it's
say
not a
edged blade. That is
it's
that is
not
the
a slasher.
smallest way to say knife ever.
It's not a slasher because he's stabbing. They don't have a genre movie called stabber horror. It's not that. That's not the way it works. Okay, but anyway, no matter what, we're way off where we're not arguing what is slasher, what is this. We were discussing what
But
we find the scariest.
You do have to define that then, because
Okay, but that's
Halloween '78
it's a
scared the
slasher.
ever loving shit out
Okay,
of me.
whoa.
And
but-
I don't like slasher movies.
Okay,
For me,
Hold
a
on.
slasher movie has to have a gore.
you know that I can remove you. You're off track. Relax.
Well,
You
let's,
can't
relax.
remove me.
Absolutely.
I won't buy you dinner.
let me
It's whatever. It's my money you're spending. So
let me spin it to you like this. Slasher movies, slasher, while it is a argued genre, it, generally speaking, the accepted definition of a slasher movie is any movie where a generally human killer is pursuing a group of people and killing them in some way, shape, or form. I understand that there might be some sources out there who say differently, but this Halloween 78 is a slasher movie. If you Google slasher movies, that movie's going to come up. I guarantee.
Okay.
Well,
Hold on, Isaac. Can you agree with this statement then? Perhaps we should not say slasher, and that we should define the movies that we're talking about that you think are scary instead of slasher as gore horror.
I never said gore horror. I don't know where you're getting these words. I just said slasher.
This is her petition to try to. She wants to create a new subgenre called gore horror that some of these fall into. Don't get sucked into this right now.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. But
let's take a breath.
Hold on a second. What's this podcast rated?
What do you mean? Like
What
how
is
do people rate us?
You can say anything you want.
Oh,
Because
man,
I
she's
needed
bad.
to know if I needed to tell Dave to shut the F up or shut the fuck up. Because
Oh my god.
horror should be a thing. Because now what we're looking at is you guys are talking like Terrifier and all these movies that Kayla and I are like, yeah, in order to be a slasher, there has to be that gore. So then maybe what we need to say instead is slasher movies should have two genres. One where gore is the overriding influence and the overriding theme, and one where it's more about the suspense and the thriller.
So I'm just going to say this: slasher is so horror is the overarching genre. Slasher
And a
is
subgenre.
Slasher is a subgenre, and there are subgenres of slasher, but those subgenres are still slasher movies. There are home invasion movies. There are babysitter killer movies. There are torture movies. They're all still slasher movies,
Okay,
but it's a subgenre of slasher.
There are
Okay.
podcast hosts that loses his shit and kills everybody genre.
Okay, so
no, stop.
we're gonna take this back, and you guys are all probably gonna fall out of your chairs. I agree with you, Isaac.
Okay, can we
Did everybody
Why are we
lie?
arguing?
Everybody went silent.
can we wind down on that note?
Okay,
Yeah.
but I still believe, like Kayla, I don't find fear in these bloody, gory kills.
Okay, and that's your opinion. Now hold on, we've gone long enough. We are off track as per usual. From now on, this thing is going to be called Wives Shit Show, not Wives Rebuttal, because
Kayla, why are
this
they
is-
talking bad about me?
this is not rebuttal. This is not discussion. This is fucking being in the eye of a hurricane with a cow shitting in your face. This is wacky.
That's the
I
new
mean-
Twister movie.
That is.
No, this is oh wow. I don't know this is my fucking nightmare. Is what it is.
What are you talking about? This is every day for you.
Well, potato. So here we go. So let's bring it back to as we wrap up. Monica, we're wrapping up. Okay, that means we're in
I
the
have
home
to walk
stretch
right
here.
by you when I leave here in a minute. I am going to kick you.
Go ahead. I don't care. Here's the thing. Let's get back as we wrap up to to what we think is scary. Just off. No one is being held to anything, but just off the top of your head. Let's go around. And what do you find to be one of, if not the scariest movie that you've seen? Okay, Monica, start with you.
I would have to go with the original Strangers.
Okay.
I would say that would be pretty high up there for me.
Yeah, pretty scary. Okay. Ike,
Oh my
what is
God, Isaac's pooping.
Yes,
I'm
it's
having
okay.
a stroke.
It's all right. We're not going back into the complexity of what she chooses as her scariest movie.
Because here's why. Because you're gonna ask me what is a movie I think is scary, and I'm gonna fucking say The Strangers because I too agree with that. That's
Okay,
one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. It is a fucking slasher movie. It's a home invasion movie.
But what did I just say to you? I think yes. Number 2 on my list is the original Paranormal Activity. That's number 2. Why? Ask me why Strangers beats that, even though I prefer movies like Paranormal Activity.
Why do you prefer The Strangers?
because I lived out in the fucking country, and that right there was the fear that I had every time my parents left me alone. That movie.
Okay. All right. This was supposed to be a very simple name your movie. So they have both said Strangers. Kayla, what would you find to be the scariest movie in your opinion?
See, this is hard for me, but I would have to go with like. See, I can't narrow it to one. I would say either the Conjuring movies or the Insidious movies. But
Okay.
I want to make a point with, I think some of the best, scariest movies incorporate slasher and paranormal. Cause for example, like the Terrifier movies, they scare me, but I feel like they're both slasher and also paranormal. And
Yeah.
so I just put that. But yeah, Conjuring or Insidious.
All right. Well, there you have it. The scariest movie, in my opinion, in no contest, is Coyote Ugly. So that's just the way it is. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're going to wrap there because, again, this has gone a little longer than what I perceived, but that's okay for the most part. I feel like it should be a chore that I should have to like cut out half of what Monica says, but I don't ever do that. I leave it in there.
Good. I wouldn't be offended.
Nope. I'm just reporting the opinions here. I'm gonna leave it in there. So, but we are gonna wrap this up so that we can move on and discuss other things. So, Monica, thank you for being on the show again.
Oh, hold on a second. I have a question.
Oh boy.
Without any spoilers or anything, can we go around and say what we thought of the new Saw movie? Can Kayla and I give our opinions?
Like your rating?
You know that's where Ike and I are going with this show, right? That's coming up here in a little bit. We're going. Why would we need to pre-bar our review?
What if we tell you?
Here's the thing.
It in later?
Here's the thing. We have gone almost 40 minutes with this thing. This is almost podcast length. If you want to absolutely very quickly give your rating, you can do that. No, I do not want a full-blown review from you on why the fuck Saw X was no good and why it's not a slasher movie and why it should have fucking lambs and cows in it. I don't need all that shit. If you want to give a very brief rating and drop it, I'm okay with that. I don't know whether you can do that though. So that is up to you.
How many screams do I have?
Out of 5.
5 out of 5. Without explanation. Just give me a number.
I can't do that.
Then no, you
30
cannot.
seconds.
No,
30 seconds. 15.
No, you can't talk.
15 seconds.
It takes you 5 minutes to tell someone hello. You cannot speak for 15 seconds.
You already took my 15 seconds telling me no.
No. No. It's my show. I took my 15 seconds. You don't have time. I'm giving you time. You have one number that you can state. Out of 5, what would you give it?
I can't say that.
Just give me the number.
15 seconds. Just give me 10 seconds.
I am pulling up a motherfucking clock.
She's like a fucking hostage negotiator.
Everybody pause. Monica, you're on the clock. 15 seconds now.
Even though I felt like some of it was a little disbelieving in terms of the kills, I thought that it was 4 out of 5, and it was my second favorite Saw movie, only second to the first. Boom!
Motherfucker, I didn't expect any of that shit.
There you go.
Wow. It's firing.
Every time we do this, time.
Kayla gets 15 seconds plus the extra 6 that I didn't use.
You
got
only
21 seconds.
You went 12.97 seconds. You're only short 2. So see, I don't know. Get me out of that ghetto math. You didn't have 6 seconds. It was 2 seconds.
And you got 17.9 seconds.
Again, every time we do a wives shit show, you are all over the motherfucking map. I cannot keep up with your. I don't like slashers, but my scariest movie's a slasher. But I fucking give 4 out of 5 to this second.
It is in the sub genre because they're.
Oh my god! It's a home invasion.
It's real.
Don't make shit up.
It's a home invasion movie.
Kayla,
Stop. Hey,
Kayla,
you're past your 15 seconds.
Welcome to the Wife's Shit Show. What did you think of Saw? I'm not going to start a clock for you though because I'm not an asshole.
That is debatable.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't need 15 seconds because I actually agree with everything Monica said. Everything she said. Same rating. Yep.
Well. Okay.
I would.
Okay. I'm assuming, Monica, when you say it's your second favorite Saw movie, it is behind the original.
Absolutely. I thought the original was groundbreaking.
Yeah,
Now,
I agree with that.
To be fair, for those that listened to our review of the franchise last episode, saying that it's the second highest over some of these is not that high of praise. But
No.
but okay. So, thank you, ladies, for coming on. I suppose. Monica, as you get ready to leave, I may need you to ask to bring me my bottle of scotch. Because
And a straw.
I'm just drinking straight out of the bottle. I am frazzled. I have a shih tzu sitting at my feet that's looking at me like, what the fuck is going on here? This is maddening.
Okay. But you still love me, right?
I do. I do.
There can't be a little caveat or anything there. I mean,
No.
or an asterisk.
And if you bring me my bottle of scotch, that love will be unconditional.
Okay. Don't Mark McGuire me.
Don't Mark McGuire you?
No asterisks. Mm-mm.
Nobody asterisks Mark McGuire.
Oh, I thought they did because of the steroid use.
No, don't. This is not a baseball podcast. We're not doing that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going another 40 minutes on that.
That would just be you, though, probably.
All right, Monica, tell our listeners goodbye.
Bye, listeners. We love you. I love you.
Okay.
You can look me up at davesaysimashitshow.com.
I didn't say you were a shit show. I just said you cause a shit show.
Okay, that's fair.
But again, scotch makes it all better. All right, Kayla, tell everybody goodbye.
Goodbye for now.
Oh,
Because I'm sure we will be back.
I do not know. Here's the thing. Every time I say this will be the last one, and every damn time there are people online who come out on Twitter, X, fucking Elon's balls, whatever it's called, and say, oh, I love when the wives are on and do their... Why? Why do people do this to me?
I genuinely think that they like hearing you and I stroke out. Like, absolutely. I genuinely think that they like hearing, like, I'm just over here, like, what the fuck?
yeah, we should do video of Isaac when I'm talking. Kayla should
He's
be doing
sweating
video.
over here.
I'm
He's literally
sweating
fanning himself
profusely.
right now.
So hot here.
Okay. Steve,
right.
we're going to take a break and let Isaac change his shirt and towel off. And when we come back, we're going to discuss all of our news and upcoming releases, so stick around. Make sure you subscribe to listen to their screams on your favorite podcast platform. Also, make sure you look us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok, and Slasher. All you have to do is look up Listen to Screams, that is Listen, the number 2 in Screams, and you can find us there. Also, make sure you go and buy yourself a Listen to Their Screams t-shirt. You can find all of our shirts at tinyurl.com Screams Shirts.
Spread the news. Spread the news. Spread the news. And we are back. Oh, Lord. Good Lord. Had to pop me a fucking lisinopril for my blood pressure. I think I'm good now. All right. That was interesting. The wives rebuttal. That was an interesting time. It always is. It always is. So
as always, yeah, it's when you get people that discuss opinions and things, and it gets a little wild and crazy sometimes, and no heat, no grudges or anything, but when people talk about things they're passionate about, it gets fun sometimes.
It does. It absolutely does. But here we are. We made it through it. We're all alive. And we're now here to talk about some news, birthdays, anniversaries, and releases. Starting us off at the top, the first trailer for Eli Roth's Thanksgiving was released, and the movie is coming to theaters on November 17th. So, Dave and I have talked about this a little bit. We're obviously going to watch this. It's about time we have a new Thanksgiving-related horror movie that is not Thanksgiving. And it's an Eli Roth movie, and I'm always excited for Eli Roth movies, so I'm pumped for that.
Yeah, me too. I like holiday specific horror. It's always fun to me. because it feels, I don't know, it just feels like it has a purpose, a time to watch almost. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. So, but yeah, it's like I said, it's coming out November 17th. We'll be watching it and reviewing it probably on the episode that comes out actually Thanksgiving Day. So, and how fitting is that? So
That is very fitting. Very good. And then, of course, we also have some upcoming news here about some cool toys. So a recent toy fair had lots of cool new horror toys, including a reveal of Trick or Treat Studios' Art the Clown, Sienna, and the Pale Girl figures from Terrifier 2. So Dave and I, we both love Terrifier, obviously Terrifier 2, which is actually coming back to theaters on November 1st. These figures actually look really cool. They look very detailed, in depth. So I'm very excited to see these, in their full glory once they're released.
yeah, these are from Trick or Treat Studios, which they released a bunch of stuff. There's all kinds of different movies and things. There's a bunch of stuff out there, but obviously the Terrifier 2 figures caught my eye because we've had some stuff out there, right? There's some figures, a few figures, whatever, but it's always just Art the Clown, and I get that, right? But now it's so cool that we get a Sienna figure and a Pale Girl figure, and then art from the second one. Trick or Treat has the other figure they put out, and I'm hoping they look like they're still in scale and like those. And it's an excellent figure. And they had some unpainted prototypes out there of them, and they look outstanding. I cannot wait to see the finished product. I can't wait to get my hands on these and put them on the shelf.
Absolutely. Very good. So now we're going to go into some upcoming birthdays. And honestly, arguably, this is a really good set of birthdays. So October 5th, 1952, we have author Clive Barker. His writings inspired the Hellraiser series. Obviously, Hellraiser and the books really, associated with them and the stories are fantastic. Clive Barker is a madman with a very, very wonderful talent for film and writing.
Yeah, and anybody that's watched the Hellraiser movies and whatever is familiar with his name, obviously, because when you saw that like the first one, it was Clive Barker's Hellraiser, right? His name was there, it was on it, and everything. So yeah, the series has got a lot of movies, some better than others, but the first one's a classic. But yeah, it's pretty talented guy there that's spawned a pretty iconic series.
Absolutely. And then also on October 5th, we have 1919 Donald Pleasance, who is Dr. Loomis in the Halloween series. Arguably probably the best parts of that movie. Donald Pleasance is extremely talented. He's done obviously much more than just the Halloween movies, but Dr. Loomis is probably one of my favorite non-killer characters in any horror movie out there, for sure.
Yeah, he's a great character. He was, kind of, I don't know what the antagonist or whatever, the opposite of Michael Myers in the movie, right?
It was.
And, and you need that, right? The movies have the final girls and everything else, but, you kind of need that person that's there. He's kind of the backbone of the series along with Myers through a lot of them. So, and again, yeah, he's done a lot of stuff, but he'll forever, in my mind, be Dr. Loomis.
Yep, and he's also unfortunately dearly departed a good number of years ago, unfortunately, but definitely had a very successful career and a very full life, so that's what we like to see. And then last but certainly not least for upcoming birthdays, this one's a favorite. Honestly, I think we talked about this last year around this time because we started doing the podcast last year around this time. Mm-hmm. We have October 8th, 1943, R.L. Stine from Goosebumps. Obviously, we have to mention Goosebumps. I think we've talked about it it's a little more extensively on other episodes, but Goosebumps is sort of like the gateway drug for horror in a lot of cases for a lot of people. And I think that's really important. You know what I mean? When you talk about horror, like how do you get somebody into horror? How do you get somebody into horror films? And R.L. Stine did that for a lot of people. He really did.
Yeah, and like we talked earlier, what is scary is subjective. And to a young kid, the Goosebumps are terrifying, and there's still stuff in there that's scary even as an adult. And it's prime time for Goosebumps, right? I think there's some reissuing of books coming out. I think there's a series coming out that related to Goosebumps. I know we talked about the Toy Fair earlier. I think Trick or Treat Studios, one of the things, there's some Goosebumps figures that they're putting out. So there's a lot of Goosebumps stuff, hitting the world. So it's a good time to wish a happy birthday to good old RL.
Yep. And you are correct, though. There is a Goosebumps series coming to Disney Plus this month.
Yes, that's right.
Very soon. Very, very, very soon. I don't know exactly when, but it's like probably in the next week or two. So I'm excited for it. I love Goosebumps. So, and it has Justin Long in it, which we're not talking about all that, but I love Justin Long. He's great. But all right. Now we only have one upcoming movie anniversary, and I've actually never seen this movie. I'm sure that's much to the dismay of Dave.
Yes.
But October 11th, 1985, we have none other than Silver Bullet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this a Stephen King book?
It is. It's a Stephen King werewolf book. I mean, it's a great movie. It's got Gary Busey in it, Corey Haim. It's such a good movie. Yeah. Let's talk about buttered sausage. And you got to put this on the list. Silver Bullet's one you've got to watch. It's a fun movie.
Just for people out there keeping track, I do have a list of movies that I need to watch, but I have a specific section for Dave's picks. And so far we have Silence of the Lambs, An American Werewolf in London, Reanimator, Monster Squad, The Fly, and now Silver Bullet.
There you go. Yep.
Very good.
That's a good watch list.
It is. And it is curated by none other than Dave Dynasty.
That's all right.
That's right. All right. With that out of the way, we have some upcoming and recent movie releases. Excuse me. Starting us off at the top, very strong. The Nun 2 is available video on demand. We reviewed this a couple weeks ago. The Nun 2 was a fantastic film. Obviously, wasn't groundbreaking, but it was a good watch. So if you're looking for something new this Halloween season, this is for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, just came out video on demand. I love the quick turnaround on this stuff nowadays, where it's in in theaters doing well, and then we get it on demand, and I like how they do it, right? And then after a while, it comes to a streaming service, because we talked about this not too long ago, that tiered thing, right? Where it's on video on demand, but it's still pricey right now, but that's okay. But I understand, and I think the system is it's nice right now. I like how it's done.
Yeah, I do too. We talked about it a lot, really, but it's just I love the modern age. I love it. And speaking of quick turnarounds, not so much, but Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is released on Peacock October 1st. So I know this one was kind of a hard watch because a lot of places didn't have it. So I'm very happy that it's on a mainstream streaming platform, because otherwise, I don't think that this would have gotten any kind of an audience, because it barely had one to begin with. No offense to the people who made it, but
yeah, I mean, it was on Amazon Prime, which but it wasn't included with, if you had Amazon Prime streaming. It was a little difficult, and I understand a small movie, right? It's hard, but this is a big win for them to be on Peacock, and I think it'll do well, because I think, again, a lot of people have heard of it. And I think now, that they're able to see it, a lot of people, just out of morbid curiosity, will watch it. And, it'll be one of those movies that'll get a lot of views just on people that have just heard the name dropped out there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know I'll be watching it, so we shall see. But, other than that, we also have another childhood story being made into a horror film. Mary Had a Little Lamb, released on digital and DVD on October the 3rd. We actually talked about this not too long ago. I think Dave mentioned he watched it. Dave, you'll have to give us some insight. What did you think about it?
I actually liked it. I liked their take on it and their spin. I thought it was fun. I can't remember. There was another one that came out too. Oh, I'm shooting a blank on what it was. They released another child story horror movie. The same company, same production company. Don't remember what the other one is off the top of my head.
Was it Three Blind Mice?
Three Blind Mice. That's right. That is it. I didn't like it as well. It was. I mean, it was okay. I didn't care for it really. But the Mary Had a Little Lamb was kind of fun. It was fun to watch. I'd advise people to go out and give it a watch. Because it was. Again, it's not a big budget movie. It's not a big theatrical release movie. But for what it is, I thought it was clever and entertaining.
Hey, that's all you can ask for in this world, man. Clever and entertaining. I love it. So a couple of other upcoming releases. Actually, the day of not filming, but of recording this, the first episode of Chucky season 3 is being released. I've not caught up on season 2, but I love season 1. But it's exciting to see that we have more content this Spooktober.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love the Chucky series. There's something going on where Chucky is with the family in the White House, and I'm curious to see what that's all about and how that happened and where it goes. I mean, there were multiple Chuckies and everything going on. As spoiler for those who haven't seen it, but I'm excited. I'm excited for Chucky to come back. It's a good series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know exactly where you can watch this. I know it's on a couple of streaming services, the old stuff, but I don't know what where the new stuff's at.
I think don't quote me, but I think it might be on Hulu.
Gotcha. That would make sense. Very cool. And then something that Dave and I are both very excited for, VHS 85 is coming to Shudder on October 6th, and it is described as unveiled through a made-for-TV documentary. 5 chilling tales of found-footage horror emerge to take viewers on a gore-filled journey through the grim underbelly of the forgotten 1980s. Dave and I have talked extensively about VHS, and I think at some point, Dave and I should do an episode on the VHS movie specifically, rank them and everything else. That'd be cool. But the reason we're not doing it next week, and actually before I do that, Dave, tell them how excited you are for 85, because I know you are.
Yeah, I am super excited. Here's the thing. When we first started this show, I wasn't big on found footage, and VHS has turned me around. It's one of the reasons. It's turned me around and kind of made me excited for found footage, and made me enjoy it as a subgenre a lot better. And you talk about ranking. I don't know. It'd be kind of easy for me because literally I think each one that comes out is better than the one before. I think I like them all. But then I think when they got down to that year thing, right? I think they did 95, 93, now they're doing 85. I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like that really is a groove for them, and it really zones in and really makes it even click and work even more than it already was. And when you're talking about shit from the 80s, you're in my wheelhouse, and I am super excited. This will be a quick watch for me this weekend when it comes out. I'm very much looking forward to it and cannot wait to watch it. So while you're getting ready to talk about why we're not doing a full review next episode, I'm sure we will probably both have watched it and we'll probably talk about it. So.
No, yeah, absolutely. Excuse me, my throat's got all kinds of junk in it from all that talking we did earlier. Good Lord. Anyways.
Yeah.
So the reason we're not reviewing this movie next week, because under normal circumstances, Dave and I would have 100% said, let's review this movie. But there is a movie that is even larger than this coming out, which is The Exorcist Believer. This is the first Exorcist movie in a good number of years, and it seems to be kind of following the formula of a lot of horror movies with the concept of a requel. So on October 6th, it'll be in theaters. Make sure you guys watch it because we're going to be reviewing it next week. But I'm so excited, so fucking excited for this movie. It looks so scary. The trailer is so well made. And just to geek out a little bit, I love at the end of the trailer, it shows the black and white photo of one of the girls, and then the old school Exorcist theme song starts playing. Yeah. I fucking love that shit, dude. Yeah. That shit it makes me mark so hard for these movies, and it's not even funny.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I've been anticipating this. I know there's a lot of people online who are like, "Oh, this is going to be a bomb. This is not going to work." I don't understand that. I don't understand the just already. I don't know. I just don't get it. Why people are so negative about it. I'm super excited. Hopefully, it lives up to my personal expectations and what I want. I just want a fun movie that makes me that gives me those vibes and from how much I love the first movie. And I think it's possible. And I wish people would go into it with an open mind and not just go into it saying, "Oh, this is not going to work. This is going to be bad." Because I see so many people saying that, and I don't know. I don't understand why the hate is out there. But to be fair, I've seen a lot of people also super excited for it. So
right. And honestly, what it is that so many times people are blinded by nostalgia. They remember these movies very fondly, and I think that they just have like this. It's almost popular these days to hate like sequels and requels. Like when I was a teenager, early middle school, it was popular to hate Nickelback. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But in retrospect, Nickelback's a perfectly fine band. Their music is, maybe a little generic sometimes, but it's good music. I could throw in some Nickelback. I know every fucking word to Rockstar. I could belt that shit like nobody's business. Um, but I think it's just popular for people to hate on like sequels and stuff. I mean, I don't
I,
get it.
I guess but it's not like there's not been other Exorcist movies already. It's so weird to me. It's
It
like,
is.
I love the first movie, and I get that, but there's been some sequels, some not so good. So it's like if you're worried about shitting on the franchise, it's already been done some. So I mean, why fret? Maybe let's hope this rights the ship. But I don't know. So just I guess all we can say, given that whole discussion with Nickelback and everything else, is I look at this photograph.
You try. Look at this photograph. Anyways, check out Exorcist Believer this October 6th. You won't regret it. Or maybe you will. I don't care. Anyways, make sure you follow us on social media. If you don't, you're a loser. Coming up next is our review. I'm just really hitting them with the hard ones today.
That's right.
But coming up next, I've become jaded by the wives rebuttal.
That's right.
For real though, coming up next is our official review and also our official new ranking of the Saw franchise and Saw X.
Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes. Okay, we're back here on Listen to Their Screams, and it is time for our review. And like I said, we're going to review Saw X. You got a little mini preview earlier when Monica and Kayla both said that they would give it a 4 out of 5. And then they in their overall ranking, they would rank it number 2. Have to say, I'm a little surprised that it got that good a ranking from them. So let's see what we give it and whether we agree or disagree with the ladies. The movie was written by Pete Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg, directed by Kevin Gruder, starring Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith, and Sanobe Makati Lund. I'm sure I butchered her name, but I apologize. It was released in theaters on September 29th, and over its opening weekend, it grossed $18,309,301 and came in number 2. That was behind the Paw Patrol movie. So when you're dealing with a juggernaut like the Paw Patrol movie, what can you do? It was the franchise's highest opening weekend since 2010 Saw 3D. So while again not a number 1 opening, not a no horror movie at number 1, it's still strong weekend. The 18 million already puts it over its budget. I think it had a budget of 15 million, so it's already exceeded its budget, which is a good sign. And the highest grossing since 2010 as far as the movies go. There's a lot of movies that came out since Saw 3D.
Yeah.
Or at least a few. So that's all good signs. Again, we always talk. I mean, horror is strong, and it is great. Again, I joked about Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol is a big franchise. I mean, it's a very, very popular thing, and lots of kids and lots of families watch that. So it is hard to compete when you have a movie like that and opening the same weekend. It's there's a lot more across the board appeal for a Paw Patrol movie than there is Saw X. No one's taking little Billy to see Jigsaw, but they will go see Paw Patrol. So,
man, you should take your kids to Saw X. Let me tell you what, it's a very wholesome, family-friendly movie.
Sure, I mean,
don't actually listen to me though.
Yeah, it's got a puppet in it. I mean, come on.
His name's Billy.
Yeah, but so again, I don't, in my opinion, no shame in being number 2. In this case, it's not not like they fall number 2 to some weird ass whatever Magic Mike Part 9 or something like that.
Magic Mike Part 9, the retirement home.
Yeah, but again, Saw X. I mean, it is Saw X because it is the 10th movie in the franchise. Yet, if you're chronologically speaking, this happens between the first and second movies. Yes. Chronologically speaking, it is so I go. Well, let me let you start first. Let me let you express what you thought about the movie, and let's have some back and forth and talk about Saw X.
Yep. So Saw X. Basically, here's kind of where I want to start with Saw X. Dave kind of mentioned it. This takes place between Saw 1 and 2. I had some trepidation going into this movie, just because thinking about the movie, thinking about the context, thinking about where we have been with the franchise and where we're going, it was definitely hard for me to think that this was going to come out as positive as as it ended up coming out. But a couple of things that I want to mention. First and foremost, the whole premise of this movie is that John Kramer has his brain cancer. I'll mention this later, so I won't say it right now. But he has his brain cancer. He is seeking treatment. He doesn't want to give up quite yet. The doctors are basically telling him there's essentially no reason to fight it. It's going to happen eventually, and everything else. So that's kind of like the gist of the movie, is that it starts out, he's kind of just like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to die. And then he gets a little bit of a glimmer of hope. Somebody he knew from like a survivors group basically was like, hey, I have like this contact. It's like a sort of a experimental situation, but it cured my cancer. And then John Kramer's like, well, let me look into it. He goes to Mexico, and essentially he gets he unfortunately gets scammed. Let's just put it that way. They didn't actually do anything for him. They basically just took his money. And they couldn't have done it to a worse fucking person than John Kramer. So John Kramer, of course, in his classic fashion, gains not only retribution, but also, in a way, penance for their crimes. He puts these people who are involved in this elaborate scheme into a series of traps in an attempt to earn their right to live. Basically, they need to prove that they really want to live because they've done some truly horrible things. So that's basically the summary of the movie. A couple of things that I thought this movie did really well compared to previous movies. Primarily one of the things that I liked about this movie is that they really gave more of a human persona to John Kramer. He wasn't like this bigger than life character of Jigsaw. He was just a sick person. He was just ill. He has cancer. And the movie really did a good job of like, it really puts you on a train of mind, but it really shows how smart John Kramer is, how elaborate and how scheming he is, like how detailed he gets with his traps and how detailed he gets with like everything that he does. I don't want to spoil everything, but at the end, there's only one person left. They kind of, get the upper hand on John Kramer and Amanda, who's in this movie. And basically, you kind of think, well, shit, John Kramer just got outsmarted. No. He did not get outsmarted. He had it all planned out all along. He was testing these people, and it just, honestly, it was great. It showed a different side to John Kramer, and the movie didn't end on a sad note. This movie actually ended on, like, I would say a relatively positive note for what the movie was. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts about the movie as I came out of it. It was like, wow, that was actually kind of a positive ending for a Saw movie of all things.
Yeah, and like we talked coming into it, say what you will, in this movie, John Kramer's he's the hero in my eyes. He's not the villain, and it's portrayed that way. But I really enjoyed the movie. I liked as well how it humanized John. I like there was a lot building up to it in that humanization and making you feel for him, but it was well done, and it was saved by putting that little part in there where he saw the guy working in the hospital trying to steal, and in his mind he was envisioning what he would do to the guy, which is the famous picture that's on the poster of the guy with the tubes to his eyes. And so that kind of broke up some of that build with a pretty graphic scene. One of it, the infamous a Jigsaw death scene or repercussion scene, threw it in there. So it kind of broke that up where it didn't feel like it was going. It was good placement. It helped in that early part to put a little action in there, right? A little what we're there for. And but it was very very clever in how it was done. where he got everybody there, and you know what's happening, right? You know people are going to start dying, but there's enough there that it makes you wonder some things, right? I was wondering about the Gabriella character, right? What's because Amanda showed some almost a pity, a relating to her, and
Yeah.
John had a little where you wondered, well, could he potentially show a little mercy? Could she not be as bad as what we thought? Could she have been used well? No, not so much. That didn't happen. But there was enough there that made you wonder about it, what was going to happen. And then when it got down, you obviously knew the one lady was going to be the final thing, right? The final one, she was the ringleader. But then when it got down to her and she got out and turned the tables, it really kind of flipped it. You made you wonder, well, what's going on? How's he going to get out of this now? Again, it was a little predictable when the guy came. You knew he was in on it too, right? I knew that, and that was okay though, because it was enough that when it was flipped, it was still, even though you kind of felt he was part of it, felt it might happen. There was still enough of, I don't know how John and Amanda are going to get out of this. How are they going to do this? Probably to me of the entire movie, the big oh shit moment was when that kid showed up.
Yeah.
Because I had totally forgotten about the kid, didn't think anything of it, and when you heard that noise, they're like, "What is that?" And then you're like, "Oh my god, that's from earlier." And then I was like, "Man, that okay." And the fucking kid, man, he was the mightiest of them all.
He really
And
was.
And yeah, I mean, he was, John was his friend, and the kid was willing to die for John. And so I think that only reinforced in John's mind from his vision of, he doesn't kill people. He's giving people the opportunity, and he's only doing this to people who deserve it, who do wrong. So I think that the kid only helped in his mind to solidify his stance on what he does. And it was great when it got to the end, and that it kind of clicked with the guy. It was like, hey, you were up there. So when you were up there, who was supposed to be the other person? And it started to click of, okay, yeah, you know what? That he was ready for this, right? He was ready and had this all set up. And it was just brilliant. It was very well done. You had to suspend a little belief, because I did sit there in parts thinking, man, he built a lot of complex stuff in what seemed like a very short period of time. Obviously, you don't know how long it is, but it's
Right.
but like with most movies, you had to suspend a little bit. And I did sit there the entire movie wondering, what about the guy? What about the guy that approached him in the cafe that told him about this? What about him? Did he legit get helped? Was he in on it? What about this dude? And if you stuck around, there was a mid-credit scene where you saw, no, he was part of it, and John got him as well. And that was a great scene to have in the credits. It just added to it. A lot of times, mid-credit scenes are just a little fan service, a little fun. Maybe not. There was some fan service, right, with a particular character showing up in that scene, but it also wrapped up a loose end from the movie. It was a very important scene for the movie. It kind of finished off. So, I think the movie fit perfectly between the 1 and 2. I think it bridged them pretty well. It didn't really change any of the mythos and the story that's out there. It fit right in like a piece of the puzzle.
Sure did.
And I think it was a well done, clever movie. It had everything you want from a Saw movie. With it had gore. I mean, there was gore, there was blood, there was some parts that made you go ooh, and it was there. And the clever kills, the clever traps, the clever games that everybody had the opportunity to get out of. And I mean, it was all there. The moments that kind of caught you unexpectedly. All the classic things that work for Saw were there, without feeling like it was just a retread and putting it in there because it's the formula that worked. It's like they pulled from the same source without just recreating, and it worked. It felt like a Saw movie. It watched like a Saw movie without feeling like they just took the blueprint and changed the names. In my opinion, I thought it was well done. Well done. And Well, we'll get to the ratings and everything else. So, Ike, if you don't have anything else to say,
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and rate this thing.
Well, I did want to add one other thing. Is that, like you said, I think at the end there, with a kid that they put, because here's the thing, it really, in this movie, sometimes in these movies, I really think to myself, man, as much as I want to like John Kramer, like some of these movies you watch them, you're like, John Kramer's just a kind of a messed up guy, like, what the fuck? But then sometimes you're like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. But this movie, I had no sympathy for anybody related to the trap.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Like, and at the end, it even solidified it more. Like, literally, because to preface this, the reason why I say this is because at the end, the blonde character, who I cannot remember her name in the movie, she's the kind of the ringleader, Dr. Peterson, I think it was.
Yeah.
She basically gets out because she has a kind of a partner in crime who ends up showing up and, gets them out of the whole thing. And she basically puts John and a little kid in this final game. And John tells the kid, don't pull, because basically blood is spraying on their faces and it's drowning them. It's waterboarding them.
Yeah. Which, by the way, was a great callback to earlier in the movie when him and the kid were fixing his bike. And he asked the kid how, because he had to put the wheel in the clamp and pull the wheel to fix it, to straighten it. And he was asking the boy how you say pull. So it was a great callback that here he got to use what that kid taught him.
Right.
For the pull. I thought it was, again, it was brilliant. It just worked perfectly.
Well, and the reason I feel like a lot of people, like this worked perfectly, of course, is that basically you had to pull the lever and then it lowered your side to basically waterboard you to death. And so he was telling the kid, don't pull, just let me get waterboarded. And I think John was thinking that him and Amanda would be strapped into the machine, but the blonde, Dr. Peterson, was like, no, I want you to watch someone innocent die. So she fucking put a kid in the machine. And I'm like, bro, these fucking people deserve it. At this point, they deserve it. Not only are they shitty human beings for tricking an old man who has cancer, but like they just put a little kid into a torture machine. Like, there's like a code of conduct even for serial killers. You know what I mean? Jason Voorhees doesn't kill children.
Yep.
Even Michael Myers typically avoids killing children.
Yep.
But for some reason, this woman's like, yeah, let's just kill a kid. You know what I mean? And so it's like John Kramer has that same code, and like Dave said, I feel like that last moment solidified to John Kramer that what he was doing is right, because he knew that like that kid deserved to live, because he was an innocent child, but also the kid was literally waterboarding because he was trying to save John, and John was like, what are you doing? Stop, And then, of course, they got their just desserts. They didn't get away with it. They both ended up getting messed up for sure. And it's just, I don't know. I watching this movie, it was so different than a lot of the other Saw movies. It was a lot better made. It was definitely a higher budget, I think, or at least just better fidelity overall somehow. And it was just so well made, and it tied everything off in a nice little bow, and just, I didn't feel bad for anybody in this movie. I was like, you know what? These fuckers deserve it at this point.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it truly made me remember why I liked the movies starting out, the first movies.
Yeah.
Again, it's not Salt the first Salt. Again,
No.
I will reiterate, Saw 1, like Monica said, like we said last episode, it's groundbreaking. It is genre establishing in my eyes. So it's almost like it's a league of its own. But this one at least had enough of the flavor to make me remember why I love that movie. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd have to say the same. It definitely took me back. It took me back to the old days of Saw, and it really made me think, wow, this is what Saw should have been. Honestly, when I watched this movie, it made me say, this is what the sequels to the Saw movies should have been. This is how these movies should have been, because it was just so well made. It was just so good, and it's just, I won't say it just yet, but because we're about to rate it. But yeah, it's just, this movie just really, like you said, it kind of took me back to the old days when I first watched Saw, and I'm like, wow, this is such a good movie.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's go ahead then. Let's rate this thing. I'll start because I'm in agreement with the ladies. I'm going to give this thing a 4 out of 5 screams. I not much I would change. I thought it was fun. Again, I don't don't think it's it's not Saw 1, but nothing is. But it was a really, really good movie in my eyes.
Yeah, I have to 100% agree. Four screams out of 5 for me. Like you said, when I initially watched this movie, I said to myself, this is a 4 out of 5 movie. But sometimes I watch a movie and just in that heat of that moment, I'm like, oh, this is such a good movie. But then I sit on it and it's not as good of a movie. But in this case, it was. Everything about this movie worked. This movie, I can't think of a single thing in this movie that I would change significantly. You know what I mean? I
Yep.
think that this movie, everything was done with purpose, and it just made sense. Everything just fit together so nicely, and I just, like you said, I think the big thing about this movie is it took us back to when Saul when Saul was originally, so big, and it really just gave this such a pristine look into the mind of John Kramer, and it was just so amazing because I think the biggest tragedy of Saul is them killing John Kramer, truthfully, because
Absolutely. Yep.
because I think that Tobin Bell is the heart and soul of Saul, truthfully,
Yep.
because thinking back on these movies, anytime there's a movie without Tobin Bell in it playing a significant role, it's not as good in my eyes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's just Tobin Bell's such a wonderful actor, and like, oh my god, I love that guy. If I could meet him, I would. And yeah, he's the reason that honestly this movie was so good. Part of it. Shawnee Smith was amazing as well. I really hope they do more movies with Tobin Bell. I don't care how they fit it in. I want to see more Tobin Bell killing people. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this movie to me completely felt like when you have a movie like the first Saw and what it was and how successful it was, this feels like where the sequel should have went, right? When you get more money and you get more recognition and you can do a little more, this feels like the progression. And I'm not knocking because, the next couple are not that bad after the first one, but this feels like the one that should have been there, right? It should have been the progression of, when you have a successful movie and you're going to obviously get a little more budget recognition and what have you, that, this is what you do with that and where you grow it. So that's how I feel. So, putting it in our rankings, everybody can look back to, we put it on social media, what our rankings were, and it was in the last episode. I'll go first. This thing's I'm agreeing with the ladies again. I'm slotting it in right there at the number 2 spot, right behind the original Saw, and bumping everything else down if I had to re-rank all 10 movies in the franchise today.
Yep, I would absolutely do the same. Just simply speaking, this movie, this is what Saw should have been, truthfully. This is how the Saw movie should have been. This is how the sequel should have been. And it's a shame that they weren't, but this movie makes up for it. It would be my number 2 because nothing can beat the first one.
Yeah.
The first one it will live at number 1 for eternity. Absolutely.
Yep. Pretty remarkable that we have the ladies on for the WIVES Rebuttal and everything that is and whatever it is. But at the end of the day, between the 4 of us, we all gave it 4 out of 5 screams, and we all said it was the second best of the Saw franchise. So I guess there is hope for world peace after all. If the 4 of us can get on the same page about that. So, all right. Well, like we said earlier, next episode, we are discussing The Exorcist Believer, another movie in a storied franchise that I'm very much looking forward to. And that I'm hoping to come out of feeling the same way I felt when I came out of Saw X, of saying, yes, this is what the Exorcist franchise needed. And we'll see. I'm hoping. I'm excited. The trailers get me even more excited. And I cannot wait to watch this movie. So go out there and see it. Go out there and see Saw X. Make sure you follow us on social media. Subscribe to us, rate, review, do all those things that help support us and help us grow our network and give us more recognition. So, Ike, before we close this out and get out of here and put a nail into the coffin of Saw for the time being, anything else you want to say?
Only thing I can say is go watch this movie. I can't say it enough. And also, we missed it in this movie, but in the ever iconic words of John Kramer, game over.
Yeah, absolutely. So until next week, when we have a little demon possession going on and we get a little rowdy with Reagan and the gang, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.